got to take big chances in order for the potential for a big positive outcome. I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon.
Hello, welcome back to A Boring Revolution, your number one news source for everything in regards to The Boring Company. Thank you for joining me. Got a great episode today. Really fantastic news in regards to The Boring Company securing some funding, really boosting its valuation, and really silencing a lot of the haters in the background, saying this company is not going anywhere. Yet we have big venture capitalist firms investing big sums of money for literally a 12% stake in the company. This is fantastic news. This really does give me a very bullish sign for what the future is of this particular company, and potentially some other implications in the long term as well, which I will discuss as we go through this video. But $5.68 billion valuation is absolutely brilliant. This is why I've been very, very keen to get involved with this particular company in terms of making investments, because although Tesla is a great investment, and I'm holding quite a few shares in Tesla at the moment, there are other things that I'm investing in, and I would definitely consider pulling money from other things and potentially a little bit of Tesla as well and dropping it into the Boring Company, because the returns on this could be absolutely astronomical over the next 5 to 10 years. I suspect as well this is not the last kind of funding round that we will see. We will see maybe a Series D as well that will go well above potentially $8 to $9 billion. So let's just kind of summarize what's going on here, and then we'll actually look at the document and discuss what is covered in there. So it's a Series C funding round. There were various companies involved. A lot of big players in the venture capitalist kind of sector, and very, very keen. They've come in and made a big investment for quite a smallish percentage of the company, and this is fantastic news. So it values the startup at $5.675 billion. This comes off the back of the Resorts World project concluding. Now, it's not quite finished. It's 98% of the way there, but the vast majority of the kind of the hard engineering work is done, as it were, and it's just more kind of snagging and putting little bits and pieces in place to get this open. So it's all good in the Boring Company world. Extremely exciting time to be in the tunneling industry. This kind of is a reinvention of the tunneling industry in terms of how we build projects. It's not only going to be a case of you go out there and you have to work for a client. It's going to be potentially you own, operate and fund the projects, run them, maintain them, and maybe even decommission them at some point. So it's the whole shebang. Full vertical integration, supplying vehicles and software, and providing management tools for the TBMs. All sorts of things potentially are going to come off the back of this, and the tunneling industry as a whole should be very excited by this development, because potentially there are other companies out there that potentially could try and imitate the Boring Company. Who's going to be the Blue Origin of the tunneling industry? Hopefully they do a little bit better than Blue Origin, but I think it's a bit harsh criticising Blue Origin in comparison to SpaceX. But if you work in this industry, you're potentially going to get a very hefty salary increase sometime very soon. So Elon, this is a very key point as well. I just wanted to just kind of slip that in there, but Elon Musk is still a majority shareholder in the Boring Company. So every time people come in and buy a smaller percentage when the company kind of prints some new shares, it does dilute him slightly, but he has the vast majority of this particular company. So this is all great news, fantastic news, and we are looking forward to this continuing. So Elon Musk, I'm guessing, has at least 70 to 80% control of this company still. Something in that kind of ballpark. I'm trying to think off the top of my head how much it is, but it's somewhere close to that. So he potentially has an extra $4 billion on paper to his name now. The company is today a private entity, and I think it should stay a private entity at this stage in its development, but I think this kind of builds the runway, as it were, ready for that IPO in maybe 2024. That's what I'm thinking now, because a lot of these companies that are investing, I'll show you them in a moment, have invested in companies that have gone to IPO and then have basically sold a large proportion of their stake and made an absolutely astronomical return on their investments. And maybe that is kind of the roadmap that they are being sold for this particular investment, because they've invested at a very, very early stage, at a very high valuation, and accumulated quite a small percentage holding in the company. So they have a business plan. I'm sure the Boring Company has, a business plan for how they're going to raise money and expand, and all in all, everyone benefits from this. So let's just have a look at these participants, because there were quite a few people involved in this. There's also some real estate companies as well, but we're not going to cover that today. I think I might cover that in a future episode, and kind of speculate as to why they're kind of becoming interested in the Boring Company. But in terms of venture capitalists, these were the kind of key players. So these two led the funding round, VY Capital and Sequoia Capital. Then we have some other players that kind of came on as add-ons, and a lot of these names you may well have. I've certainly heard of 3 of these names, but a lot of these names have been mentioned before. I've seen them mentioned in press releases in regards to SpaceX and Neuralink and a couple of other companies that I use, Dropbox and Uber and Lyft and these kind of companies. And it's clear that they're investing for the future. They're looking at kind of where things are going and where technology is advancing, and how the world, as it were, is going to kind of change and evolve, and how they can get involved early on with very innovative companies and make large percentage gains on their investments. So this particular company, I know, or this particular venture capitalist, I've heard a lot about, I've heard a lot of very good things about, and I'm going to show you why in a moment. But VY and the other one have kind of led this fund, and this is just something I pulled up off their website when I was doing my due diligence, as it were. VY Global Growth is a blank check company that intends to partner with a technology business that will benefit from our global expertise to define the future of its industry. We believe our investing and operating experience, together with our deep network of founder relationships, will enable us to identify a wide range of attractive potential business combinations. They're in this for big returns, and they only invest in companies where they are kind of going into industries where expansion is going to be, it's not going to be linear, it's going to be exponential, and that is what they're after here. If you're kind of interested in the firms that kind of get involved with, well, this is what I've pulled off one today, so it's DFJ Growth, but as you can see, a lot of these are very well known companies, specifically Coinbase, and obviously Box, and then obviously there is the link here, Ring as well, Solar City, Tesla, Twitter. I find that interesting at this current moment in time that they're an investor in Twitter. SpaceX as well. You know, anything that Elon Musk touches, these lot get involved in, and then a few other companies as well. So all in all, very, very interesting situation surrounding this investment. I feel very confident now. In fact, I've never ever felt more confident that there is big kind of short to medium term growth coming for the Boring Company. What we've seen so far is just kind of the precursor, and it's going to be nothing compared to the fireworks I'm expecting from the Boring Company. Now they've got the kind of money to back up what they've already done. So let's have a look at that actual press release and discuss the kind of key things that it mentions within the actual document. A lot of it is kind of stuff that we've already heard before and that I've discussed in on this channel. A lot of it is important kind of characteristics that the Boring Company wants to integrate into its business in order to differentiate itself from other tunneling operators. And this is kind of like the business plan, as it were, as to how it's going to succeed. So let's have a look. So the Boring Company is pleased to announce our Series C funding round of $675 million, led by VY Capital, Sequoia Capital, with participation from Valor, Founders Fund, Craft, DFJ. The financing now values the Boring Company at $5.675 billion. We're also happy to share that a group of leading real estate partners of strategic importance are also joining the round, including Brookfield, Lennar, Tishman Speyer, and Dacra. So again, this is very interesting. Why are they getting involved? Is this a play to kind of build infrastructure linking their developments? Are they looking at the possibility that this maybe might open up new land for development, including taking roads away and replacing that with real estate? Very, very interesting to kind of consider that. Okay, so we kind of know all this, but I'll just go over it just in case there are new listeners. But the company's mission is to solve traffic. To solve the problem of soul-destroying traffic, roads must go 3D. Tunnels minimise usage of valuable surface land and do not conflict with existing transportation systems. That was a very interesting statement. As I think personally the future of cities involves expanding existing kind of mass transit systems and then adding on these 3D tunnels. A large network of tunnels can alleviate congestion in any city. Beautify cities. In many major cities around the world, roads take up an extraordinary proportion of available real estate, often monopolising an astounding 20 to 30% of space and up to 60% if you include parking. By placing transportation systems underground, valuable surface land can be used for pedestrians, green spaces and recreation. So I wonder if that's where our real estate kind of investments are kind of looking at this, valuable surface land. So in terms of this land going away, obviously robo-taxis will obviously take away parking, but having basically cars underground, you can then convert roads into maybe parks, maybe additional cycling infrastructure, maybe you can just have areas where people can kind of congregate, outdoor seating, that kind of thing. So it's all very interesting, and this is another key point that the Boring Company keeps talking about. Enable rapid point-to-point transportation. A loop is an express public transportation system that resembles an underground highway more than a subway. If a subway or traditional light rail has had 100 stops, a train would typically stop at each station, so the trip from stop 1 to stop 100 would be quite long. In contrast, loop passengers travel directly to their destination anywhere between stop 1 and stop 100 without stopping at the intermediate stations. We know this before. So just in Las Vegas, for example, if a train stopped at each hotel on the Las Vegas Boulevard, a trip from the airport to the convention center would take over 25 minutes versus 5 minutes with the Boring Company system. So that journey is quite a few miles. So if they're saying 5 minutes, sorry about that, 5 minutes, you're talking well over 70 miles an hour to achieve that. And then this is a kind of a new thing that I've not noticed before. Maybe it was there before and I just didn't pick up on it, but this transportation architecture can be applied intra-city, so transportation within a city, and with increased boring speeds can be applied to intercity hyperloop. So it's certainly a case for linking up cities that are far away, but you also say on top of that if a city is only 100 miles away, why would you not just use a traditional loop anyway? Because you potentially could get up to 120, 130, maybe even 140 miles per hour. If somewhere's 100 miles away, that's quite a considerable improvement on the local highway network. So that's interesting that they mention intracity and intercity. What else have we got? TBC creates fast safe, faster dig and low cost transportation, utility and freight tunnels. TBC has spent the last 5 years building core technologies designed to solve traffic and beautify our cities via loop and hyperloop. We kind of know this. Loop is an electric, zero emissions, high speed underground public transportation system in which passengers are transported to their destinations with no immediate stops. Las Vegas, Nevada, Clark County Commissioners targeting throughput of 57,000 passengers per hour. For end users, this means a trip from Harry Reid International Airport to any major destination in Las Vegas Strip in 5 minutes or less with zero stops. Nothing more frustrating than being on a train that's stopping somewhere just to drop like one person off. This also translates to less congestion overall on traditional surface roads. Okay, so that's all interesting, but the vast majority of this, certainly I have anyway, I've heard all this before. The next page I found fascinating, really fascinating, because it mentions this here, which is kind of interesting to me. In fact, I might even do a whole video on this, because for me, this is kind of the holy grail of tunneling once you've achieved high speed. So Prufrock, let's start at the beginning. So Prufrock's next generation tunnel boring machine designed to construct mega infrastructure projects in a matter of weeks instead of years and at a fraction of the cost. The current iteration of Prufrock, called Prufrock 2, is designed to mine up to 1 mile per week, meaning a tunnel the length of the Las Vegas Strip can be completed in a month. So just thinking off the top of my head, 1 mile per week is just over 200 meters per day, 7 days a week. I think it was 226 meters per day, but I need to check that. Prufrock 3. So here's kind of our first mention of a machine that follows Prufrock 2. Prufrock 3 is designed to be even faster, with the medium-term goal of 1/10 human walking speed, or 7 miles per day. I cannot get my head around this. I've tried to model this. I've tried to look at like how will the speed of the TBMs that the Boring Company are producing improve, and I'm well short of like 300 meters per day. Never mind 7 miles per day. Unfortunately, I just can't visualize that. I want to, but I just can't all I see is miles and miles of concrete tunnel segments lined up, and thousands of cubic meters of spoil. Where does it all come from? Where does it all go? This, from a logistics standpoint, is a very, very difficult problem. Very, very difficult. I think achieving something like that could take the Boring Company well over 7 years, 8 years, maybe a bit more. It's absolutely mind-boggling to think of that. I can visualize 1 mile a week, certainly, and I can see that happening fairly soon in the medium term. But in terms of 7 miles per day, it completely goes over my head. I just can't physically imagine that. It's a hell of a distance. I mean, if you could build like that, you could rebuild like entire subway systems in major cities like Seoul and Beijing and London in well under a year. You could probably duplicate them like 2 or 3 times. Let's read it some more. So in the short term, if each Prufrock 2 mines at 1 mile per week, the Boring Company produces 1 new Prufrock machine per month. So they're talking about production here. You'd have to have some kind of production line to build that. Then the Boring Company will be introducing 600 miles per year of capacity. That's insane. That's insane. And once you've built that, that is an asset that is now worth a lot of money. Yeah? And you can then borrow money off that asset and use it and gain revenue from vehicles running through it. So that's absolutely incredible. As a point of reference, less than 20 miles of underground subway tunnel have been constructed in the United States in the last 20 years, which is just, you know, absolutely pathetic compared to some other countries in Asia. So we know what porpoising is. I have talked about that in the past and done a video on it. Continuous mining is a very, very important kind of principle. When you look at the critical path of building kind of a tunnel, you're obviously looking at lining the tunnel and also excavating the spoil, and then all the other logistics of keeping those two processes running. The continuous mining basically combines all that, and you're doing everything at the same time, which is incredibly important and has never really been achieved that successfully with soft soil TBMs. I think for something to be considered, in my mind, continuous mining, it needs to be able to achieve continuous mining for well over an hour before having to stop. Being able to achieve continuous mining for 6 or 7 minutes is not really that impressive, but being able to continue doing it for well over an hour does impress me. So this is a new term that I've not seen before, and it impresses me a great deal. Z-pits, or zero people in the tunnel. Unlike traditional TBMs, which require upwards of a dozen or more people to operate, Prufrock is designed to be capable of operating completely remotely and autonomously via computerized systems, and requires zero people in the tunnel to operate. So you probably still have some people on the surface monitoring it, but inside the tunnel there would be absolutely nothing. It would just be completely run by itself autonomously. Now that is incredible, because once you've built one of these machines and you kind of know the geology in a particular area, you could set off these machines in all kinds of directions and just basically leave them, which is incredible. There is a big shortage of people working in the tunneling industry, and wages are very high, so this is a big kind of cost saver, and you don't need to train people up, and it's just a great thing. Now they've obviously not achieved this yet, but that's kind of their aim. So that plus this equals extremely fast, cheap, efficient tunneling and a massively high valuation. The funds from the round will be used to significantly increase hiring. So this is again really great. In fact, I'd say out of everything in this document, this bit really kind of warmed my heart to read it. The funds from the round will be used to significantly increase hiring across engineering, operations and production to build and scale loop projects. So it's going directly into the projects, into kind of the team, into the R&D, including the Vegas Loop and others, in addition to accelerating the research and development of Prufrock and future projects. So this money is not just sitting in a bank account waiting to be used to buy more, shares in the future. It's actually going into accelerating this company, making it better, increasing its kind of production capacity, increasing the kind of technical ability of the people that work there, finding new people that can come in and offer something new to the Boeing company, and building a TBM that is going to be an absolute world leader. So all in all, this is some of the best news we've heard regarding the Boeing company for almost like 3 or 4 years. It really is incredible news. Again, the Boeing company is hiring, so if you are based in some kind of engineering role, or maybe you at university studying civil engineering or mechanical electrical engineering, I would strongly recommend reaching out to the Boeing company and consider getting involved with this, because if you want to be involved in an industry that could potentially grow exponentially to the point where most journeys take place underground, consider this company. Really consider this company, because your salary could be something insane, and you'd be remembered for many decades for working at this incredible company. So let's finish with a quote before I end all this. Defeating traffic is the ultimate boss battle. Even the most powerful humans in the world cannot defeat traffic. Elon Musk. Unless you have a helicopter, of course, but hey. But it certainly makes a good point that even like top CEOs and top bosses and sales managers and things like that, at the end of the day, they still have to sit in traffic like the rest of us. So, conclusion, this is big news, very, very big news. The Boring Company is on the path to do quite a few projects this year and next year, and all the birds seem to be lining up perfectly. I think potentially we might see an IPO at some point. I think that's being lined up. I'm hoping that the Boring Company, which has less than 200 employees, very quickly goes up to like 600, 700, 800, and we start to see more and more projects starting up, more and more machines being built and maintained and upgraded, and we get to see a lot of these kind of interesting technology solutions implemented on these new projects. So porpoising, having the machine basically run itself, and continuous mining. Okay guys, thanks for tuning in. If you've not already done so, please like and subscribe and comment on the video. Please consider following me on the following applications. All my Patreons, thank you very, very much for your continued support. It is very much been welcomed. Yeah, and hope you have a lovely, lovely day, and we'll see you on the next video. And remember guys, don't be boring. I will see you on the next one. Take care now.
You would test a god?
You gotta take big chances in order for the potential for a big positive outcome.